I urge all UAW members to support the 525 striking workers at the Clarios battery manufacturing plant in Holland, Ohio, just outside of Toledo. These workers are fighting the world's largest auto battery maker and the powerful financial interests behind it. The outcome of this strike will have major consequences for the hundreds of thousands of GM, Ford, and Stellantis workers facing their own contract battles this summer. Clarios filed a motion this past Thursday to use the courts against the striking Clarios workers, and by the evening, Judge Michael Goulding, a Democrat, ruled in favor of Clarios to limit pickets to 5 people per entrance, and the UAW agreed. Clarios, formerly the battery division of Johnson Controls, was bought by the private equity firm Brookfield Partners in 2019. Although the company made $1.6 billion last year, its wealthy investors want to boost profits by 30% in the next few years before they flip it for a massive payout. In the last few years, workers have lost $10 an hour or more due to repeated cuts in piece rates. They regularly work 19 days in a row and 12 hours a shift at straight time before they get 2 days off and do it again. Exposure to toxic chemicals is so bad that workers must get tested for high levels of lead in their blood, which can cause lifelong disabilities and be passed on to their kids. Workers report that it is commonplace for retirees to get cancer and die a few years after leaving. There are 2 more critical things about the strike that workers must know. First, the walkout would have never happened if rank-and-file workers had not revolted against the UAW apparatus and rejected the deal Local 12 officials had negotiated by a margin of almost 99 to 1%. Workers then made it clear they would not accept any more contract extensions that would help the company stockpile batteries, forcing the UAW International to sanction the strike on May 8th, 11 days after the defeat of the contract. After the strike began, UAW Local 12 President Bruce Baumhauer told reporters, quote, "We're not in the mood for concessionary contracts," and "We're not going backwards in today's economy," end quote. But it was Baumhauer and Local 12 officials who tried to push through a pro-company deal that contained a miserable 3% raise and other concessions. And it was the rank and file who threw this garbage into the trash. Second, if this decisive strike is to be won, it is necessary for all UAW members to come to its immediate assistance. The company is digging in for a long fight. Chief Human Resources Officer Elizabeth Powers came to Clarios after overseeing a 7-month lockout of 2,200 Allegheny Technologies Inc. steelworkers in 2014 through 15 and a 105-day strike in 2021. Right now, trucks carrying thousands of batteries are being sent across the strikers' picket lines, and Lucas County Sheriff's deputies are threatening workers with arrest if they don't let the trucks through. These batteries are being delivered to Ford, GM, Stellantis, and other plants in Toledo, Detroit, and across the country. As one striking Clarios worker said, quote, "We build 1,500 batteries a day for the Ram 1500s at the Warren truck plant alone. I would say to those workers, stop putting batteries into those trucks. We all got to stick together. We should all go out at once," end quote. At the UAW Special Bargaining Convention in March, UAW President Shawn Fain postured as a militant, saying, quote, "This week I've heard some talk about what we can't do, about what the law says. And the law has its place, but the UAW wasn't founded by asking for permission," end quote. Fain has made all sorts of promises, but he is doing nothing to expand and win the Clarios strike. It is true that socialists and left-wing militants who led the Toledo general strike, the Flint sit-down, and other mass struggles in the 1930s to build the UAW had to fight company-controlled judges, injunctions, and the violence of company thugs, police, and the National Guard. But Fain and the rest of the UAW bureaucracy spat on those traditions a long time ago. At the March bargaining convention, Fain's supporters in the UAWD stripped language out of their own resolution that called for a ban on handling scab parts. The reason, they said, was because their lawyers advised them to. Clarios and the auto companies are now using this to build cars with scab batteries. Last week, Fain and UAW Secretary-Treasurer Margaret Mock were rubbing shoulders with the Biden administration officials, Senator Bernie Sanders, and other Democrats in Washington, and telling workers to look to these people to defend our rights. But these are the very same people who organized the congressional vote to outlaw the strike by 120,000 railroad workers last year and impose a concessionary contract that the workers had previously rejected. Biden, Sanders, and the rest of the Democrats are the friends of the UAW bureaucracy, not the rank and file. If it was up to workers, we would be out tomorrow to defend the Clarios workers. But the UAW bureaucrats are shackling us. We cannot accept this. Workers at the Jeep Toledo Assembly Complex, Dana Toledo Driveline, Dearborn Assembly, and other Ford plants, Warren Truck, and other Detroit area Stellantis factories and other plants should immediately organize rank-and-file strike support committees. These committees should invite Clarios workers to participate in informational pickets, meetings, and other activities at their plants to inform workers and build up support for this critical strike. The Clarios strike is a test case for all the auto bosses. In the company's top management, boards of directors, and financial investors, and former and current executives from GM, Dana, Tesla, Goodyear, Borg Warner, Siemens, GE, and other major corporations. This includes Ron Bloom, a Wall Street asset stripper and close financial advisor of the UAW and United Steelworkers. Bloom was on Obama's task force in 2009, which destroyed the jobs of thousands of auto workers and cut the wages of new hires in half. All these companies want to impose the high costs of the transition to electric vehicles onto the backs of workers through destroying thousands of jobs, slashing wages, and creating a largely at-will, cheap labor gig economy workforce. But after years of record profits, workers are determined to fight for what is ours. In every country, from France and the UK to Germany and Sri Lanka, workers want wages that keep up with inflation, cost of living protections, an end to intolerable and unsafe working conditions, and a future for the next generation. The Clarios workers have set a powerful example for all workers. To unite our struggles, we have to transfer decision-making and power from the UAW apparatus to the workers on the shop floor by expanding the network of rank-and-file committees, which are democratically controlled by workers ourselves. Workers at Dana, GM, Stellantis, and other companies have already built committees under the leadership of the International Workers Alliance of rank-and-file committees. I urge Clarios workers to build their own rank-and-file strike committee. This committee should formulate a list of the demands that workers need, not what the company and the UAW bureaucrats say is affordable. These demands should include inflation-busting wage increases, COLA, workers' control over piece rates, line speed and safety, the restoration of the 8-hour day and 40-hour week, the restoration of overtime payments after 8 hours, and ample time off to rest and spend with your families. There must be real base pay increases, not phony signing bonuses. In addition, the committee must demand that all negotiations be live streamed and that rank-and-file representatives be present at all sessions. No return to work without a ratified contract, no vote until the entire contract is released, not self-serving highlights, and workers have an entire week to study and discuss the deal before it is agreed upon. At the same time, workers should be provided their full income and strike pay to show the company that workers are ready for a real fight. The strike fund is a fighting fund for workers, not a slush fund for the UAW International and their yes men on the regional and local levels. The struggle is a decisive fight for the whole working class, and Clarios workers need the support of every worker. Thank you.